Welcome to the Channel Surfers. I'm John McCabe, and I'm joined as always by my co-host and very good friend, Jeff Lennon. How you doing, Jeff?
Hey, John. I'm doing good, man. How are you doing today, bud?
I'm doing great. I think we have an exciting guest on today. What we want to focus on today in this episode is, partner impact and how that is real, but in a way it's invisible.
Yeah.
We've all been in jobs where we've been hired to create a channel program, and within a couple of months we have a CRO or a CEO saying, where are the leads? Where are the deals? Right. And you're like, well, hey, this is a marathon, not a sprint, right? You got to take the time to build it. Right. We're going to dig into the traditional source and assisted revenue misses the majority of our ecosystems values and that miss those values, right? Yeah. The guest today is the CEO and founder of Quarq.ai's Shared Value Index. And what that does is it measures transitional give-get contributions. So your sales leaders can fund, prioritize, and scale all the right motions in a channel program. Our guest today is Chris Messina. And I'm really interested to hear this one point that he's very passionate about, and that's the +1 give philosophy and practical adoption path. So, Chris, welcome to the show. And for our guest, why don't you just give him a little rundown of who you are and what you're doing?
Well, John, real quick before you get started, I just want to throw this out there. And Chris, I think that this episode is going to be super, super timely, right? And I'm hoping that people tune into this because John and I were just chatting about this morning through some texts and stuff, but it seems like we're going through another, another channel grind, so to speak, within the employment space. And I think, to John's point, the value proposition of what you're doing and why you're doing what you're doing, I think is not only super timely, but really could help companies and help people better position themselves. So I just kind of wanted to preface that because when John and I got introduced to your stuff a couple of weeks ago, we both kind of like one of those moments where you look at each other, you're like, holy shit. Like
we were like, oh, this is so interesting.
Hey, let me show you the story.
Appreciate that.
But anyway, so Chris, please
get him on the show.
Yeah. Thank you, gentlemen, very much for having me on. And I really appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation. And the way this thing came about is I've been in partnerships for about the last 15 years, technology for about the last 20. And after going in time and time again, building these programs, I joke, only half joke, that my career for the last 15 years is being professionally gaslit because I go in there and I said, look at all these great things I'm doing. And they go, where are my leads? And then, we just talked about it. Where are my leads? Where are those things going? Okay. And then we do our thing. Well, after failure after failure and watching all of my peers go through the same things, I hit a point where after leaving, you can look at my LinkedIn profile to see the names of the companies, but after leaving the last company where the CEO literally, she told me she did not believe in partnerships, and she's not a terrible CEO, but she had a background where she had some negative experiences with partnerships, as pretty much every CEO who's been around for any length of time does. She's like, I don't believe it. So I spent 2023 trying to prove a negative. And when finally said, look, you're sitting on a strategy. It's been sitting on your desk for 6 months. Right now, I'm costing you a lot of money. I could be making you a lot of money. Let's either move forward or move on. They chose move on. I climbed to the top of a mountain, stood there shirtless in the middle of February, freezing in Colorado, and said, I'm done. I'm burning the ships. There's a place called Mount Falcon out here. Just let it all out. Did the whole primal, I'm done. Decided the ships were gone. And I haven't looked back since. That was February 13th of 2024.
Wow.
We heard that story. We're all part of this group that gets together. And I love the group, by the way. It's very interesting. But when we heard your story, I was like, ooh, that shivers down my spine. I was like, I've been in that conversation before. And I'm sure people listening to this podcast that have done what we do have been in that position before, right? Trying to get the leader to believe. And it's hard when you go to like a CRO or a CEO and they're like, I don't believe in it. I stay away from those types of companies. I want to go where the believers, and there's a whole episode we did on that. Like, are you a believer or not? Right. And when you have the believers, it makes your job a lot easier, and it also clears a path. And there's more productivity in the program. When you don't have the believers, partners sense that they don't want to work with you, right? It's like a spidey sense that they don't want to,
Yeah. Do you mind if I actually, because that actually speaks directly to the origin of this thing. Because when I first came at this, and the original name was Thrum, it was a name that I had from something else. And when I first came at this, Thrum, THRUM.
Got it.
Like thrumming your fingers. Quarq works a lot better. Not thong or no. That'd be weird.
That's funny.
But I came at it with a similar mindset of so I built this whole propensity model looking at these different vectors of, and yes, I'll say this, I am autistic. And so when I will go in a little bit to the weeds, it's just kind of the way my brain works, but so I looked at all these things. I'm like, these are the ingredients of a good top-down partnership. But the more I applied that out there, the more I went and actually vetted that, what I realized is, yeah, there are definitely some executive teams who are much better suited for giving and for partnerships than others. However, the truth is, it doesn't matter who they are, how much they want. I mean, I could point to, I don't want to put the person's name out there, but a couple CEOs that I really respect, but one of them's like, look, I really believe in this. I want to do it, but I can't defend it to my CFO. And so even the ones who believe it, the problem is we lack the evidence. And so nobody believes us, not because they don't want to. It's not because they're obtuse. It's because they literally cannot see the evidence of what we're telling them. That in between we hired you and leads start falling out sometime down the road. What's the in between?
That's great. I just had a Shawshank Redemption flashback with that obtuse comment.
That's where I learned the term. That's actually where I got the word.
What did you call me?
It was eighth grade.
I think
geometry for me, but okay.
I think the premise of Quarq.ai is amazing because you're trying to dig in and really show the value of that progress and how to get to the end game, right? Whereas when we don't have tools like that, you're like, oh, you got to dig through the PRM or your CRM and go through and find out, well, these deals are here and
it's forensic.
Pipeline looks like this. Yeah, it's forensic, right? So talk to us about the platform, because I think it's so interesting. And executives out there that are listening to this, sales or channel executives, listen up closely, because this could be something that can be a difference maker for you.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that. And so the platform is founded on the principle that, well, first of all, and this is really pressing into this podcast, the only reason we can do this is because of the AI maturity. So the reality is 2 years ago, even, we couldn't have done this. There is too much signal out there. The reality of what we do, and this is why I actually bring in the autism conversation into this, is because what we are constantly trying to do, and the way the autistic mind works, it builds everything from the ground up. It starts with the details and moves to the structure. Well, that's what partnerships are. Partnerships are a billion little details that live all over the place that and we tend to be relatively neurodivergent, whether it's autistic or ADD, but we tend to have partner people tend to have a stronger pattern recognition capability than most people. The problem is, first of all, we don't have the technology, or we didn't have the technology to translate that. So we literally lack a translation layer between executives who are typically first order thinkers, meaning that top down, they look at the big heuristic effects, which are critical as an executive, as I'm learning as a CEO myself. Sometimes you can't get stuck in the weeds. You've got to pay attention to the big picture. But down here, we live in the weeds. And so we need a translation layer. So what we do is we plug in behind the tech stack. We're called a system of intelligence. We monitor so we do an assessment on the beginning, and it's all done via AI to understand what are your give and get values. Give values are places where do we have either strengths or core competencies, or places where we want to give. And those are rated on hard and hard to easy. So hard gives means we don't have anything dedicated, but we still want to be able to do them, but I need to beg, borrow, and steal. Or an easy give, I have a line item. I have a partner marketing team. I know the resource attachment to that. I know how much that costs. I know how much is available. It doesn't mean I can give endlessly, but it's an easy give because I know the resource availability. And so that's the assessment looks at all of the different go-to-market organizations, product, marketing, sales, and actually the new assessment goes even deeper than that, but it actually makes it less, it compacts it even more. And what it's doing is it's looking at those things. What do I care about getting from my partners? And what do my partners care about getting from me? And then we monitor those values behind the tech stack to see when those resources come available. And then here's the other thing that is a big problem for us. Most partnerships are still this: us sitting on a Zoom call or sitting in a room, taking a bunch of notes, and then we have to run back and try to herd cats. Well, there's two massive problems with that. If we're all three partner people from different organizations, I might be rolling to the CRO, you might be rolling to the CMO, and Jeff, you might be going to the to the chief product officer, right?
I was going to say the janitor, but okay.
Yeah, or I rolled up to the CEO, the CFO, the CRO, the CPO,
the COO. No, absolutely.
I mean, I rolled up to every O or C that you can imagine, and so the ability to just create a standardization off of that, to be able to tell the story from we get into a room, we tell a story, but then also to automate that process. So when we identify by sitting back there, when one of those values is there, alerting the people in the value chain, like customer success, they have their hair on fire. They're chasing things. It's hard for them to get involved with partnerships because that's a proactive movement. They're a reactive organization primarily. We alert them when those things are there and which partners to act on. And then, like, we're still in beta right now, but where it ultimately goes, it tells them which part, what do we do with it? Like, that's one of the great things about Crossbeam. Crossbeam came in and told us where these accounts overlap. We help you tell you what to do with those things. Where do I invest my time?
When they overlap. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
So that's a good point. What are you integrating with to help with all that forensic investigation to produce these results to show?
Yeah, so I'll give a shout out to one of our partners here, Syncari, SYNCARI. And so we made the strategic decision to leverage Syncari as an integration layer because what that gives us is 250 out of the box integrations. And so the reason we integrate into everything that you'll give us access to is because we're monitoring for resources. That's the bottom line. And it's significantly more complicated than that. But the baseline thing we're looking for is signals and resources across the entire customer lifecycle. Because the reality is partners are contributing from origin to postmortem, right? And then understanding those contributions, the ones that are those non-linear, those non-transactional values that they are contributing to get us to our KPI attainment. That's what we're identifying.
It is interesting. So, and John and I have talked about this on previous podcasts, right? So understanding that language, right? So when you just gave the example of the three of us, right? And we all report to different people. One of the challenges, and I'm based on what you said so far and what I've learned from going through the website and stuff, you actually help with the filtering of that, because where I see a breakdown is most salespeople, most channel partner managers, they talk at people. And I'm not trying to throw people under the bus here, but they're there all to project what they do, and they're not listening enough. And one of my biggest takeaways, when John and I talk, is I'm always trying to understand where they are. Where is the partner I'm talking to? Where are they at today? What do they need to be successful, right? Are we speaking the same language? And sometimes, in that conversation, you just lose sight of it. So, having all this data is great. I'll just share one thing I saw this morning. All this data that you talk about, and this is where I want you to kind of go through your sifting and your almost your playbook process here, but you can have all this data sitting in a, you're pulling all this information in from the field and from the CRM, and you've got deal registrations and you've got all this stuff, but we're not using it. We're not using it or leveraging it in a way that's meaningful to the business to execute, as well as to say, hey, look, we are being successful. Like we did these events, this is what we got. So that's one of the things that jumped out at me that I saw your solution was doing. Like when you just mentioned Crossbeam, like, oh, here's the connection. What does that mean? Like, what does that overlap? So could you kind of extrapolate that a little bit?
Yeah, and I'll talk to sorry, John.
Go ahead. No, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to hit the first thing that you identified there is that partner people, we do tend to talk at people, and
Sure.
that's why I spend time on the neurodivergence aspect of it, because that's part of what we do. We see the pattern. This is the way I describe it. I'm like, I'm standing up at the top of the mountain. I'm looking down at this treasure chest full of stuff. And
Right.
it was real easy for me to get there because I knew how to get to the top of the mountain. I'm screaming at these people behind me. There's a fucking treasure chest right here. Come on. All they see are cliffs and rocks and danger. They were on the
Mhm.
journey with me, and I did not do a good job of taking them along the journey. Now, if that were the only problem, then I would say, well, then maybe that's more a problem for us to shift, the way that we approach it.
Right.
However, at that last gig that I told you about, I realized that before that, and I realized, hey, I really need to think about my approach and come alongside and try to be the ally, not try to tell them what they need to think. Let me understand what they think. And it still doesn't work
Yeah.
because I still can't prove the things that I need to prove incrementally. Like, here's one of the questions that I want to answer for every partner person out there, right? How many times have you gotten this question in your career? What the fuck do you actually do all day? That is what
Oh yeah.
that is what
Yeah.
Quarq does. Quarq tells you,
Yeah.
here's what I'm doing, here's why I'm doing it, here's what I expect to get from it, here's when I expect to get it. Now leave me alone. Let me do
I
my
always think
job.
of that movie Office
Yeah. Yeah.
Space. I work with the customer.
Yeah,
I get the fax
I'm a
machine
people
and I give it
person.
to the engineers.
I have a quick story. Like when I was working for a company, I'm not going to name the company or the guy I was working for. I was building an MSSP program for them specifically for their channel, and it was taking a while. And my boss was getting pressure from the CEO. What's going on? And it was like 3 or 4 months into this thing, and we got into like an argument about it. And his response to me was, "John, where are all the leads? Where are all the deals?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? You're running channel. Who are you kidding?" But like, it goes back to what you're saying. Like, they were kind of like, "What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing on a daily basis?" And really, it's a lot of, like you said, kind of trekking that mountain and trying to get to the top, trying to figure out the right path, right? And you got to talk to the right people, and you got to,
Mm-hmm.
have them direct you this way, right? It doesn't happen in one step. It's
No.
multiple steps. Jeff and I always preach, if you're going to build a program for a company, it's a 12 to 18 month build. It's not going to turn around in a month or two.
Exactly.
Yep. And that's actually, so I go in, on all my gigs, I would go in with that same, like, it's going to be 12 to 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of the, and then I go in and I build the strategy. I build it from the ground up. I despise, so one of my traits is I have a huge problem with inauthenticity. It just has,
Mm-hmm.
it's literally a neurological problem for me. It creates a disconnect. All right. And so
Okay.
I can't go into an organization, take credit for things that I don't believe I had a contribution in
Right.
building, right? And so I
Right.
go in
Right.
and I build these great strategies. And I can say some of these strategies have been phenomenal, but I build them from the ground up. I communicate to them in the way an autistic person is going to communicate to. And they smile and nod because it sounds really great. And they're like, yeah, I got buy-in. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to go do my thing. And this literally happened at one company. Again, remain nameless. We go in. I was the second most senior person they'd ever hired, besides the CRO, and the founders. And one I get hired at the end of November. So think about the timing.
Mm-hmm.
We are 3 weeks in. We've gone through the whole thing. We've done it. And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, where are the leads? Like, I've
Mm-hmm.
literally barely spoken to people. Then they laid off half the company in February and me with it. So I had a 3 month stint in this place because even though we agreed, we built the strategy, I set the expectation that this is a flywheel. When they can't see it, when they can't visualize what you're doing, it is human nature, especially at that level where they are getting that, like, if you want to understand startups, read that book, Secrets of Sand Hill Road. It's something I wish I would have
Mm-hmm.
had but when you're going, why the fuck are they making these stupid decisions? Well, that's that first order thinking. And so they're not going to understand you if you don't give them that. They need bite-sized things to be able to, and they need to be able to see a stream of information for them to believe you. Right now, they don't have that. We live in the world of trust me, and it ain't working.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
and
by the way, John, I mean, that's why I think when we first saw you, like, that's what resonated. Like, a lot of things that you're saying really resonate with our own experiences. So, sorry, John, go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. They're doing some construction outside my office window. No, I think cabana. One of the things I'm
the Greco-Roman ring.
One thing I'm curious about, Chris, is this SVI practice. And the SVI and the +1 give. So
how that all works.
To us what that is all about.
Yeah. So the foundational, and I appreciate you asking that question, because the foundational hypothesis for Quarq is a +1 give. And this is based on a lot of research from a lot of different people. But if you've ever read the book Give and Take by Adam Grant, if you haven't and you're in the channel world, just generally, it is a phenomenal book to understand givers, takers, matchers, how different people function and how you interact. Well, after a lot of that research, the reality is if you are adding, so we call it the +1 give. So if you are adding 1% more value to your ecosystem as a whole, and you are measuring that reciprocal value, and so you're looking for that equilibrium of balance. You're not always going to be there, especially one partner to the next. But in aggregate, you're trying to maintain that. And you are cutting off those who are not reciprocating. Like, you're investing the time in the places where you have a high propensity for ROI. Well, guess what? You can't outgive, because you are adding value. The people to whom you are adding value want more of that. And so they create that reciprocal value. And this is one of those things, if you do it right, it doesn't matter if you're dealing with takers or matchers or givers in that scenario. If I can see it, I can align all three of them. And so that's the give-get value proposition that the +1 give, saying if we can add slightly more value. And then the other thing on that is like if I'm going into Accenture, and I'm net new, I've never been in Accenture before, that is a minimum of an 18 to 24 month swing, right? Yeah. When I start,
for sure,
our balance meter is shaped. We call it the Deadpool meter because it looks a little bit like Deadpool, but orange and purple. But it's a circle, and so that balance meter is going to be way heavy on the give side when you start. But I can start showing those incremental gains, the movement towards equilibrium. And that's something that can help me get that buy-in so that I can keep doing the work that allows me to get to that treasure chest on the other side. So that's the +1 give hypothesis. And then the shared value index is effectively a credit score per partner. And so that takes into account your first party data, all those things, takes into part second party data, meaning cross-beam, that overlap, all the different stuff that you can get from there. And there's a lot more modeling that you can do off of that data once you have all of these things. And then third party data. The third party data is critical, especially when you have a large ecosystem, because you might be going to market with a company and they're your favorite, best partner ever, and you get to this event and nothing happens. Well, you didn't realize that their CEO wound up on the Epstein list, and you missed that headline.
Wow!
And so nobody shows up at your event.
It's got weird, man.
I figure it's a relevant topic. Everyone will get it.
No, absolutely. But you're like, wow, okay.
That's kryptonite there.
But it could be completely extraneous or outside of anything that you would normally think, and you don't understand. And it's that's when you get people like, hey, didn't you see what happened? Didn't you read the news, or didn't you read?
Yeah.
You're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I got 1,000 partners. How am I going to pay attention to this one?
It's interesting.
No.
Wow.
And
I'm sure people can relate to that scenario. Something dramatic happens to the company. Look at like CrowdStrike, for example.
Yeah.
The year they had their issue, their customer show, Falcon, was like empty. They had people show up, but it was very not well attended.
Yeah.
The year after, and their CEO came on and was like, hey, we take full responsibility. It was our fault. We missed it. And I love that. He took ownership and he was in it. But I went to the show and the shit went down, and I was like, what happened? Like, where are all the people? Where are all the customers that we want to talk to? It just wasn't there.
Yeah.
The next year was very beneficial. It was like, well, 3 times amount. They had like the biggest attendance, but like it's something like you can't predict things like that. But what I'm hearing is with your tool, you can kind of shape or figure out like trends and help someone figure out what the trends are to uncover or avoid bad trends, right?
Especially if you think about it like a credit score. Like, oh, these guys are usually an 800. It's a 1 to 100 to keep it simple for us. But these guys are usually in a credit score. They're usually an 800. All of a sudden, they're in the 5s. Wait, what happened here?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That means something dramatic happened to change that. Now, the shared value index shouldn't change dramatically that overnight unless something dramatic happens. And so that's a good indication. You're like, well, I would expect 6 Sense to be way up here because 6 Sense is an amazing company. And then if something happened there, and then you have that or it could be the reverse. This is also positive. I mean, this isn't just looking for the negative. It's mostly looking for the positive. So what if they just raised the monster round? What if they just had some great breakthrough? Somebody said something amazing. I want to ride those coattails. I want to catch the tail of that comet. I need to be in the know and have a stream of information that allows me to act on partner opportunities when they arise.
Right.
Yeah, that's interesting. So let me ask you this, for our listeners, number one, is Quarq something you want to bring in as soon as you start at a company to build something, or do you want to wait till you have all the tools in place and you can actually put it in there? And then secondly, like, how does it complement all of your revenue attributions and give value to the overall program from a partnership standpoint?
Yeah. So to the second question first, which is how does it add value and where does so the way that it adds value to all of those different organizations and the different revenue attribution things is one of the distinctions that I draw here is we are not an attribution model. And the reason why we're not an attribution model, attribution is a many to one. It's actually one of the problems that, I don't know if you follow John Miller, the godfather of the MQL, co-founder of Marketo, but he's trying to kill the thing right now. The reason is the MQL distilled marketing down into this linear metric that doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, it's great as an additive metric, but when you distill everything down to a single thing, you kill it. So that is part of the reason, so we are a contribution metric, meaning that when you are looking at it, it's a many to many proposition. Partners don't contribute in it's not just a lead that turns into a thing. It's they did this and it helped us get this, and then that got us over here, and then here's the pathway to get all these things. Partnerships are pathways. They go all over the place. And that's one of the reasons why it's hard. So the value to those revenue attribution things, especially to the finance side, is when we start seeing those gives and gets. The harder ones are higher resource intensivity. That means that costs us more, meaning the RO. Because here's one thing, and I credit Lincoln Axon, if you know him, for helping turn me onto this and really grabbing it. But there is no such thing as ROI in partnerships today because we don't know the I. None of us do. Nobody. Because we pull from so many parts of the organization that we never actually have line items for. So we don't know if we're using 5, 10, 15, 20% of marketing. All right. And then what is the actual, we can look at the impact, but that's one of the reasons why we have such a huge invisibility problem, is because our impact lives in everybody else's KPIs, systems, metrics, tools. So not only are we having to forensically go back in and try and extract our success from other people's metrics, the people who own those metrics, human nature, get the fuck off my lawn. Like, they don't want us there. It's not because they don't want us doing our jobs. It's because that's their credit. That's their metric. That was built for them. Like,
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
they just fertilized, man. So, come on.
yeah,
You
yeah,
can't
that's
walk around
exactly,
that.
yeah.
Like we just threw a bunch of stuff out there to get more leads. Like, what are you doing? Don't step on
That's
that kind of
exactly
thing.
it. That's exactly it. And it's
Mhm.
not saying, oh, wait, you packaged the fertilizer, you bought it for us. Like that's so it's telling that story. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm just, and again, just from a curious, I want to kind of go back for a second because this has been really, and your ROI thing, and I'm doing this because I want to come back to the return on investment comment you made. But so when we talk about the problem, right? So the problem that, if I understand it correctly, and like I said, from what I researched, it's a couple different things, right? It was about, getting figuring out where the influence is, where you're getting access to information, how's the enablement working. There was, the speed, like we just talked about it, where the leads, the speed to outcome, and what are the expectations, right? So that's kind of the problem that you were attacking around the channel and partner management.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And then the SVI, which we're all loving acronyms,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Is your shared value index, right?
Hmm.
Right.
And again, as you go, you look at it. So this shared value index is all about this is the part that was intriguing to me when I started looking at you guys after we met. You know, figuring out where are the connection points? Where's the intro? Where's the intel? Where are we pulling the enablement? Where's all this demand? Like where are all these different things that are coming from that are, it's like with the holidays coming, there's just so much. Pardon my French, right? There's so much shit out there. How do you know what to grab? And I saw a write up today where they were talking about this company had all this data sitting from their
Hmm.
CRM and they weren't looking at it, which I just mentioned. So
Mm.
when you take this shared valued index and you figure out how to overlay it with the CRM, with the PRM, and start pulling in
Mhm.
some of the other components that are out there that to try to figure out how does this actually align? Because John, I think this is, again, for me, it's kind of like the light bulb went off. It's like, wow, this is really kind of sifting through all that. And I understand the AI implication because you're able to take large amounts of data and, more importantly, disparate data and start to
Hmm.
figure out that
Mhm.
connection point so
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
you can start to
Yeah.
do that mapping. So looking at all that now, the problem, we talk about this solution thing. So walk through and I'm going to use your favorite term, John. Walk through your playbook for that solve plus one give, approach that you guys have.
Yeah, and this will actually answer one of the earlier questions too, is like, who's this for? Well,
Yeah.
from an investor perspective, fortunately, unfortunately, we are horizontal. And so not something we can do anything about. We tried, but the reality is you have to have the nexus. So let me start at the bottom end of the market. Do you want to have this early or do you need to have tools in place first? My
Mhm. Mhm.
belief is that you want to have this early. Why? Because you create a standard by which you measure your organization so that you now have your own success metric and you are not having to beg, borrow, and
Wow.
steal. So you build the organization around the metric so that is we're all tacking towards the same thing.
Or could I just interrupt you?
Yeah, yeah.
Even if you're coming in and taking over a dumpster fire or program,
Yeah, exactly.
it's a perfect way to go in and dig and find out what's going wrong, what's going right, right? So
Yeah.
you want to have it early.
And then not have to go and do that giant forensic work.
Hmm.
You can go in there,
Hmm.
plug it in, and then it starts to do some of that for you. Then you can build the strategy and say, this is what we are trying to achieve with our SVI goals, right? And
Yeah,
here are
yeah.
the number of partners that we
Wow.
want. There's a whole
Interesting.
acquisition aspect of this as well. But then let's get to the other end of things. And I'll use the name here because I had a conversation with Databricks. And Databricks' question, the guy looks at me, he goes, I have 5,000 partners. I know what 50 of them are doing. Can you help me figure out what the other 4,950 are doing? Yeah. For that end of the market, our job is to identify the long tail, to say who. So now it's restructuring because, like, and this is in Verizon. We talked to them. They have a gigantic spreadsheet. They've been trying to build a scoring model for the last 2 years, and everyone's afraid to touch the spreadsheet other than do an input because they're afraid they're going to break it.
Yep.
Like Sondermine out here, they big mental health
Yeah,
company.
yeah.
They've got 4 data scientists trying to decipher these things, and they're still confused. Like Google, they went through four different reorgs last year in the partner organization because Cognizant
Wow.
uh,
Cognizant.
Cognizant,
Yeah.
yeah, has been trying to build a model for years, and they failed. And I can tell you
Hmm.
why everybody fails. It's pretty easy. part of it is just because AI wasn't there, so nobody could do this before now. But the other part is the Henry Ford problem. The Henry Ford problem, meaning if Henry Ford's famous quote, if I ask my customers what they want, they'd say faster horses. We have been building faster horses and partnerships for they're asking for leads and revenue because that's the only thing they know what to ask for. They don't know how to ask for all the other things. What they really want is proof. And that's what we're trying to give them is the proof. And then all of those other platforms, all those, the Crossbeams, the mPartners, the Mind Matrixes, et cetera, they all get more valuable.
Wow.
Because now we're proving the value of that investment. There's ROI there.
So let me ask you this. So in your approach, what is that one thing, that one report or that one approach that you seem that is looking like it's winning over your skeptics? Like once you're able to show them something, like what does that look like?
Well, I mean, the early customer data that's coming out now is saying it's like the easiest thing to do. The thing that's going to win over skeptics is as long as the CFO believes this metric, nothing else matters. If I can get the CFO to believe that what I am showing them is a reasonable, is a logical path to revenue contribution, guess what we don't have to keep doing? Having stupid arguments about should we get credit for this, that, or the other thing. That is horrible. Like, it's horrible for us. It's horrible for the seller. It doesn't work. It creates conflict. Like, truly, we need to get the hell off the lawn.
Yeah.
I had a situation last year. I was working for a pretty large cybersecurity company, and we had a very big marketing team. I think they had like 100 people on their marketing team, and they had people dedicated to the channel. And we were doing events, and I was going out and getting the events set up and creating the follow-ups and everything. And our CRO at the time wanted to look at everything we were doing from the channel, and our marketing team actually took credit for all the stuff that I had put together, all the events, all the leads. They're like, hey, that's us. It's considered, perceived value to us. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. It looks like we did nothing, So like, that's something I think where Quarq could come in and be like, wait a minute. We see the flow coming from the channel side, not the marketing side. But marketing was taking credit because they live for that, right.
And it was a shared responsibility thing, but yeah. And this kind of starts to give you that proof. That's why I was just kind of curious was if there was anything that you could do. But like John just said, I mean, we've all lived that where, and you made the comment in the beginning, Chris, where it's like, you don't want to take credit. Like I've never been one to try to take credit for things that I didn't do. Like I've even been involved with things and just kind of, you just let it happen. And I always found it to be even more beneficial because the person that's taking the credit, you hope that they're going to be like, all right, well, this was great. Because nobody does anything alone in this business. I don't care what people tell you. Nobody.
And less and less because the complexity of the market right now. Like, here's the other side of this thing. One of the things nobody talks about. The brain drain in our industry is astronomical. Over 20% attrition. And that's across the board in technology. Our complexity curve is going straight up and to the right. So the only possible way to keep up with that curve is an ecosystem, is bringing more people into the process, not less. Horizontal sales methodologies are zombies. They're dead. They just don't know it. It doesn't work anymore. There's too much complexity. And especially with the brain drain, like it takes the average seller, according to HBR, and exactly 24 to 36 months to reach full productivity. Their average tenure is 18 months. The average tenure of a CRO is 19 months. Guess what you never get? You never even get to the point where you can become a competent horizontal seller because you're getting axed before, like, sellers don't have any longer tenure than we do.
Damn.
We had Vaughn Murdaki on. He's the CRO of Mind Matrix, and he said the average lifespan of a CRO
Vaughn's awesome.
Months. He is great. And we were like, oh, well, you can't build a channel program in like 6 months. He's like, you can't. And if you're looking 12 to 18 months, you're both kind of getting to a point where it might be taken off, but it's not taking off enough. Bye, you're out, right?
Yep.
Which is
That's
it's
exactly
scary,
it.
but yeah.
That is exactly it. Like, we
So
get
we're
fired a
actually
lot.
bumping up on time here,
Yeah.
Chris, but I wanted to like kind of tie everything together. From where I'm sitting, and when I first heard about what you were doing, I was like, wow, this is I don't want to say it's justifying my job, but it's helping to forensically prove that the channel does work, and it's a process, but it works, right? Just for the audience, give us like your overall what Quarq can do for a channel executive and how it helps the overall company from
the
that
impact
standpoint.
Yeah. So I
Great.
know I use a lot of names here, but I was at Catalyst last year. We're back in March, so this year. And there's a gentleman by the name of Matthew Keneally who gave this incredible speech about what it takes to align with the C-suite, right? And he went through all these things, and he was 100% right. Like Nelson Wang, you look at his
Amazing
like
guy.
175 PowerPoint spread thing that he shares. Those are right. Guess what?
Yeah.
That's fucking stupid. Like, that is a whole separate second job. I'm not saying they're stupid. I'm saying the fact that we have to do that is ridiculous. And so Matthew Keneally got up there and he's talking about all this alignment with the C-suite and all those things. At the end of it, he's still not there. He's still just feeding all of them. So what does this do for you? If I'm doing my job right, if this thing works the way it's supposed to, my success metric is more people with a seat at that C-suite table and more partner people getting their shot at that corner office at the CEO suite. Because guess what? Some of the smartest, most strategic thinkers in the entire industry are in this profession, but because we don't speak the same language as the executives, we never, ever, ever get our shot. We do not have a seat at the table. Even the chief channel officers barely have it. It's a title most of the time. It rarely has the influence of any of the other C-suite.
100% agree, man.
I just had a vision of Hamilton when Burr was saying, I want to get my shot, right? It's so true. Like in history, like you want your chance at your shot, right? And that's what I think we're trying to.
That's all you can ask for. Like,
so let me. Wow, that's and it's funny, man. My mind. I wish we had more time here, but because it's something you just said, like about getting that seat at the table, right? And the language, like I'm 100% on board with that. I definitely think it's not so much the vernacular, but are you speaking the language of the people at the table, and does it align with the goals of the organization? So this is, and I'm going to kind of put you on the spot here because I always love doing that. But what would you say is the most underrated partner signal or signals, like if there's one or two that are being overlooked or just that you started to see in your process? And it doesn't have to be definitive, but I'm just kind of curious because what I get with what you guys do and how you guys are kind of gathering this and cross correlating is going to empower these people to have a seat at the table, to talk at a level that they need to. So what would that be as we kind of start to move to wrap this up? But I'm just kind of curious. Like, what do you think?
And I really enjoyed this. If we want to continue the conversation another time, happy to do that. But if there's one area where I think that this is going to have the most immediate impact, it's going to be in that customer success organization. It's going to be in demonstrating how much value partners bring to the things that are actually probably significantly more important than net new revenue, is retention, growth, customer happiness, all the things that equal more revenue, right? Being able to demonstrate that impact means more investment, means the CS job gets easier. Like, there's a lot that goes into this. Like, there's a whole long-term vision for this, and there's a marketplace that builds off of this stuff. But the idea here ultimately is to solve for that +1 give. The more you do that, the more organizations start to transform. And I'll end it with this, and you can look this up. BCG has a great quote. And part of the reason I did this, and I joked that 2023, I did a doctorate level thesis on partnerships. I went deep, read everything I could. And Boston Consulting Group, and most of them agree on this, whether it's Accenture or Sloan Kettering, et cetera, it's World Economic Forum. But their quote was, one of the big reasons, so it's an 85% failure for partnership programs. Has been for 20 years. That's a static number. This is one of the reasons that ecosystems fail so often, is that they don't just challenge traditional business systems, they break them. And that when I think about the long-term vision for Quarq, it's to break business. I want to shatter the traditional horizontal business model and demonstrate, prove that what Accenture and Bain and BCG and blah 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 all say, and that's why they keep investing in this, because every major analyst out there is telling them ecosystems are the way to go. You've got to do it. We're going to prove them right. That's our job. Prove them right.
They help each other out. It's helping everybody out in the ecosystem to get reach further and enhance what you're doing. So I totally get that. So Chris, thank you so much for being here. This was amazing. I think your product is amazing. How can our audience get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can email me just at Chris@Quarq.ai, Quarq.ai. You can go to our website, Quarq.ai.com. And then happy to jump on calls with people, happy to take them through and show them what we're doing. We're just coming out of beta right now, and we are fundraising at the moment. And 2026 is going to be, you're going to hear a lot more from us. We're going to be out.
Is there any place they can go to learn a little bit more about Quarq, like while you're doing that, instead of just reading, and even the SVI? I think that shared valued index is kind of cool.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of information on the website, and again, if they want to find time with me, or they just want to shoot me a question, like if they have a question, and please just email me, ask a question. I'm not going to try and sell you too hard. Like this is if it works, it's gonna take off on its own. I shouldn't say if it works, but when it works, once we get that full product market fit.
Awesome.
Well, look, we're fans. We want you to be successful. We want to keep tabs on you, make sure we follow your success, and certainly maybe we help you get in front of somebody who is looking for this tool and can take advantage of it right now. So
that'd be amazing.
So, again, thank you for being on the show, and we will probably have you back. We want to have a panel of AI people that we've talked to that are in the AI build space, and have like a panel discussion on it. And we're trying to plan that for next year. But maybe we could do it at Catalyst this year. We're all partnership leaders. We could do something at Catalyst.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun. That'd be a lot of fun, because we hardly even talked about the AI and the tidal wave that's coming at us.
Right. All right. So until the next show, Jeff. Again, thanks for co-hosting with me. If anyone wants to get in touch with us, you could go to our website, www.channelsurfers.com. Also, email is john@channelsurfers.com or jeff@channelsurfers.com. Or on our new website, there's a form to fill out. If you want to be a guest, fill that form out and be a guest. We'd love to have that. But other than that, until the next show, we appreciate your time. And Chris, thanks again for being a part of this.
Thank you.
Awesome, man. Thank you, Chris.
All right, take care.
Thanks again. Thank you, John. Take care.